Welcome to Wine Country in Shorts. I'm Ralph DeAmicis. This is an ongoing segment about the tasting rooms of downtown Napa. At one time, there were just a couple down here, but ever since they fixed the river, the number of tasting rooms have exploded, and today we have over 40. Up here at the north end of Main Street is the Vineyards Collective, one of the most prestigious and oldest collective tasting rooms in downtown Napa. Right around the corner from there are two other tasting rooms. A new one is Basan. It's owned by a couple. Cute little place. And then Housley, which has actually been around since 1969, though this is a new tasting room for them. And then right next door to them is the Napa Barrel Project, which is a beer project. But they're all in a little cluster on the north end of Main Street, or actually on the cross street. You can see the Vineyards Collective there in the distance. And then this is Amuse-Bouche, right on Main Street, just south of there a little bit. And New Frontier, which is actually a larger wine project. And that's a pretty new tasting room, only in the last year or so. The red building there is the Opera House. Now over at the west end of First Street, this is Lavendi. Lavendi is not the name of the family that owns it, but is the Greek word for raising a glass in a toast. The family's name is Greek, and they chose that. The beautiful little glass river running through their tasting room actually was placed in there many years ago as an installation, and every winery that has been there since has used it. Elman family is down at the end, as is Kerr. Kerr is a newer tasting room, as is Elman, as is Lavendi. All these are relatively new in the last few years. Across the way is the John Anthony tasting room. It's right next door to the Andaz Hotel, which is at the west end of town, and Jam Cellars, which is also in that cluster right by the hotel. As we pan down, you'll see we're looking down towards the Archer and down towards Main Street. The Archer Hotel is the newest hotel downtown, and it's just about a block or 2 blocks from Main Street itself. Mia Carta is one of the newer tasting rooms in the downtown, right across from the Archer. Has a wonderful collection of wineries, and what's interesting about it is that almost all of the wineries are owned by women, which was just coincidental, and yet they're all very small, very remarkable little wineries that we've known about, many of them, for many years. Mia Carta, my page. That's the Historical Society right there in the middle. Right next door to that is Brendel, which is a new tasting room. It's actually part of a larger group of wineries. And down there at the end is the Alpha Omega tasting room. They also pour Tolosa and Pernet. There's 2 other labels associated to the same wineries. When you go up the valley, you oftentimes will see Alpha Omega off to the right with their fountains. This is the name of a winery that started back in the early part of the 1900s. Across the way, a little closer to Maine, is Chateau Buena Vista. This is the Napa location for the famous Chateau Buena Vista in Sonoma. And over there is the Brown Downtown tasting room, and they're up on the 2nd story in that wonderful building. You can see the entrance is over at one end. Compline is actually a wine shop, but they're starting to do tastings, and it's an extension of their restaurant. They're in the little courtyard. And Maya Camus is a very high-end tasting room that's in that same courtyard. And then we're back over there on First Street. Acumen is a beautiful tasting room, quite elegant. And they have a gallery with revolving art on the inside. And the day I was there, I took a quick walk in there and did just a quick pan of the current artwork, but I'm sure by the time you go by, it will have changed. And looking over there towards the Archer and panning up, you can see 2 tasting rooms, the California Brandy House and Vineyard 29 on First Street. Vineyard 29 is called that because its address is 2929 Highway 29. California Brandy House is actually owned by Gallo, who's a big producer of brandy. It's a fun addition to the downtown. And Vineyard 29 is a high-end winery, so it's nice to see them down here on on First Street. And panning up towards Ico's. Now, Wine Girl is right there on First Street, and this is a new addition. It's really, it's a tasting room, but it's a bunch of different wineries. It's really meant, I think it's very much geared towards girls. Wine Girl, after all, Napa Valley. And they pour a bunch of different wines. And then you walk down that same courtyard. This is on the south side of First Street, and you have the Cadet tasting room, wine and beer bar. And this is funny because it's so understated. It's almost like 1960s furniture. But as you walk up to it, you'll then see the sign on the door, Tasting Lounge. So it's one winery, very stylish. And then at the corner, as you go out onto the street, onto Franklin, is Outland, which is a group tasting room. You have Forella in there and a number of other good wineries. Very minimalistic, very good wines, interesting project. And right next to them is Outer Space, Far Out Wines. It's a new store, and it's actually started by someone else who had sold wines in the area before, had sold their store and has come back to do some interesting stuff. When you're at the Archer, Napa Stack is actually a little tasting room, and you can see Maya Camus off there to the left. They have coffee, wine, gifts. They have a little tasting bar inside. Over on 2nd Street, between School and Franklin, are a couple of tasting rooms. Benevolent Neglect is brand new, though the winery's been around for a while. Right next door to them is Be Bubbly, which is a tasting room that specializes in, of course, sparkling wines. It's a huge amount of fun. People seem to love it. And Gambling in McDuck, which just was pointed out in one of the magazines as one of the best hidden gems in the area. Cute little tasting room. And ever since they appeared, they've gotten a lot more business, I've noticed. They're actually right around the corner from, right next door to Monday Bakery, which is usually open up in the morning. Jeffrey's General Store is right there. The Napa Post Office, the downtown, is right there as well. It's a cute little area. It's really popped up now with these 3 different places where you can taste right in this one block. Just a little bit further to the east side, on the other side of the river, is the Oxbow District. This is actually a collection of tasting rooms, some restaurants, markets, and the Oxbow Markets itself. Gustavo, of course, is one. The Model Bakery is over there in the Oxbow District. That little building in the distance is a beer hall. Right next door, around the corner, is Mark Harold Wines, which is on the walk up to the bridge. Krupp Brothers, which is a very high-end label, which also has a tasting room there, but has a winery up valley. The Wine Thief is a cooperative that's been there for many years. Walt Cellars, which is across the street from the Oxbow, is related to Hall Winery, who specializes in Pinots and Chardonnays. This is the front of the Oxbow Market, which is a lot of fun to go into. The Studio Feasted Forward is a collective tasting room right around the corner. There it is. Big, beautiful place, a lot of fun, a lot of different brands are carried there. They have a studio upstairs, a lot of outdoor space. It really is quite a remarkable town here on the Napa River. And it's important to realize that the reason this area was always so prosperous was the Napa River. You could navigate a ship all the way up to this area and then trade with the people up in the valley where they had this bounty of produce that they can then ship out to the world. And when they discovered they could grow great wine there, well, they were off to the races. So this is a quick overview of downtown Napa, and in future episodes we're going to drop in on some of those places and check them out. Come see us again at Wine Country in Shorts.